What's up, guys? If you're a dog owner and you've always wanted a dog that listens perfectly in any environment, on or off leash, welcome to the most immersive YouTube series for dog training on YouTube. I'm Austin Laramie, owner of Zero to Hero Dog Training, and we are recording every single day, day 1 to day 46 of her whole training experience, from knowing nothing to being a master. This series is going to teach the everyday dog owner how to successfully live and train their dogs to have the best relationship and give their dog the best life possible. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, put on the notification bell. We're posting multiple times a day for the next 46 days. I'll see you there. Woo! Oh. Come on, bye, 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 bye. Woo! Once she is good, I'll take her out and we'll do a little bit of leash walking. We got a dog coming by across the street, so I think this will be great because she gets pretty excited around dogs. So we're gonna work on some leash walking, and I'm gonna work on the recall a little bit using her name like we did in Home Depot. When I'm walking too, I don't want dogs just blowing me off like this, just sniffing. So I'm gonna keep her moving. Just like day 1, I'm working on that leash walking. I'm just doing my turns. Good girl. So we got that dog across the street now. She definitely saw it, but she's not going off, which is awesome. I'm just walking. Every time she gets ahead of me, until she really knows a good heel command, I'm going to do my turns. And I like to stop too. Good. Right now, I don't really care if she's flared out like that. Like, we'll fix that later on. You got to do it step by step. But just the fact she offered me that sit, she wasn't doing that yesterday. And now she's walking really nice on a leash right now. Good. Good girl. And this is what the typical first week sessions look like, you know? I'm just out teaching her some leash skills. Really, that's really it. I am gonna start marker training her. We've already started with the crate and, you know, teaching her the word yes. But I'm just out doing some basic stuff. We don't get very complicated. And even if she's not pulling, I'm still gonna do my turns just to start building her focus and engagement on me. Good girl. She looked at me there. I praised that. Yeah, she's doing very nice today. Good. That's a good girl. Good. It's all right. She's looking at the mailman, so a great distraction. When she least expects it, I turn. Or when she least expects it, I stop. Good. Nice. Good. Typical session for me is about 15 minutes, give or take, 10. And once, you know, I do a little bit of leash walking, get her pretty focused, you know, she's pretty good now, I'll work on some marker training. If you guys don't know what a marker is, I'll briefly explain it. A marker is a sound that predicts a reward for a dog, and you can communicate to your dog when they're correct. And through a marker, you can teach a dog anything. So if you see people use clickers, that's a marker. I use my voice. I use the word yes, I use the word no, I use the word and I use the word good. I have 4 markers. They all mean different things. But yes is the one that most people are going to use. That's called a terminal marker. What that means is it's a reward and a release. So for you guys to understand it, when I say yes to her, I'm teaching her that she's free from whatever position I put her in and that she has to come to me to get her reward. So to teach a marker, you can choose anything that you like and just start marking. So what I like to do is I like to use the dog's name. I'll say their name, and the second they look at me, I say yes, and then I start running backwards with my hand down and I let them come get the treat. Thing about markers though is every time you say your marker, you have to follow up with a reward within a second or two when your dog doesn't know it. You have about a second or two to make a connection to a dog. So, Piper, yes, good girl, yeah. And again, with my markers, my marker word comes first, praise comes second. I don't go, good girl, yes, right? So, Piper, yes, good girl, woohoo, good job. Good girl, and then I'll praise her and pet her, get her amped up. Good job. And really, you can pick anything you want to teach a marker. She already knows sit, so I'm going to give her some sits. Piper, sit. Yes, good girl. Thing about the marker is you have to say it, or your marker has to happen the second your dog does something you want them to do. So the second her butt hits the ground, that's when I mark. Piper, sit. Yes, good girl, yeah. And again, when you're training, you gotta start out in a very low distraction environment when you're teaching new things. When the dog knows the commands, that's when you have to start going to new environments that are increasingly more difficult with birds, people, kids, cars, other dogs, until your dog is really, really well behaved and does the commands in any environment. So we don't put too much pressure on dogs in the beginning. We keep it really easy. We got to make a clear path for them to succeed in order for them to be really good. Piper, sit. Yes. I'm not even doing the stay at all. I'm just, as soon as she sits, I'm rewarding her. I'm not teaching her to sit. I'm just teaching her the marker. Piper, sit. Yes. Good girl. Piper, sit. Yes. Good girl, yeah. Piper, sit. Yes. What happened right there? I told her to sit. She knows sit. She didn't do it. I used my leash pressure marker, which is and that predicts leash pressure. So that's not a correction. She's not in trouble. But I turn pressure on, and then she sits, and then the pressure turns off, and then I still give her her reward. But that builds accountability. That creates a dog that will do commands regardless if you got food or not, and regardless of what's going on around them, because you hold them accountable. But you can't use that until the dog knows it. So I can't, she doesn't know down. So I can't tell her down and then go and pull her with the leash down. She's not gonna know. I have to use food, and I have to lure her into the down position. Yes. Good girl, like that. So, but she knows sit. I can definitely start adding leash pressure, but just know leash pressure, she's not in trouble. Yeah, chew it. She's just, that's my teaching, right? That's, hey, I'm going to show you, you have to do it now. And then of course you got to add corrections over everything. Piper, sit. Yes, good girl. Piper. Yes, good girl, good job, good girl. Piper, yes, good girl. Now what's important about my marker is that I'm not saying yes and moving my hand at the same time. Just like the crate earlier today, I separate my word and my action. So here she goes, she's gonna bark at this dude. Off, good. So right, good. Sit, yes. So what happened there? There's a guy walking by. She's really fixated on the dude. The word off for me is, that is my leave it command. And when dogs hyperfixate like that, like she's kind of reactive to dogs and people, I will start teaching them a leave it command. I usually don't start with little leash pops like that, and she's very vocal. I promise you I did not pop her very hard. She does have a prong on though, so it's very sensitive. You can't just pop very hard with a prong collar. But I say off, and then I separate, I add a second or two, and then I pop the leash. So when she hyperfixates like that, I don't want that. That's a precursor to dogs going and actually running towards that thing. It's super important to teach dogs a leave it command like that, and like, don't hyperfixate. If you shut the dog's behavior down before they blow up, then you're going to be good. Off. Yes, good girl. So I don't wait for my dogs to start lunging and barking and growling. That's called loading. She's loading. Off. Yes. She's starting to load, and I like to liken it to like a pot of water when you're boiling pasta. You don't wait for the pasta water to start boiling over before you take the heat down. You see it rising and you turn the heat down before it boils over. Same with dogs. I don't wait for my dogs to start barking and lunging before I then pop the leash or anything. As soon as she starts hyperfixating, that's the moment I'm like, bam, and I correct it. Good girls. So again, I'm gonna have some people on here that heard her yelp and it's gonna be like, oh my goodness, you're awesome, you're evil. It's, hey, if email me, right? Just let's have a conversation about it, because it's not fair to your dog to never correct them. You have to do it. Yes, good girl, come on girl. So yeah, that's like a typical session, just an easy session, just some leash work, just some marker work, but yeah, nothing too crazy. But I'm going to show you when we go back inside, we're going to do the door stuff and the crate stuff all over again. So I'm going to go take her inside. And of course, I want to get the tug out and I want to play with her right now, but my wife and I actually have to leave. But ideally, at the end of the session, I would be ending it and I'd be playing with her. I'd be playing tug of war, playing fetch, just want to build that relationship. But again, I approach the door. I'm going to allow her to go through if she wants. And remember, with prong collars, I'm super light on it. You don't need to pull very hard with prong collars, man. Takes 2 fingers. Like, seriously, 2 fingers. So I walk through the door, she follows. I come back through the door. I walk through the door, she follows. But I'm not saying anything here. And she's pretty distracted. Good. Reward her looking at me here. Enter. Now we're going to come inside. We're going to go to the next door. And this is how we do this every single time we come through here. I don't let her slide one time going through the door. And of course, once she knows everything, you have to start adding corrections and consequences. There's a consequence for getting it right. There's a consequence for getting it wrong eventually, right? But her first week or 2 is going to be like nothing but fun. Unless, I have to correct her for like fixating and all that. But again, she shouldn't be in a state of fear. That's what I'm trying to say. All my dogs, you'll see, they're super happy. Good. She's not going through the door, rewarding her for that. I walk through, she follows. Good. I reward the sit, pet her. She's focused on the neighbor. And like I said, is my leash pressure marker, but it's really my marker for pressure in general. I'm saying and I'm stepping into her, so that's also pressure. That's called spatial pressure. So it's just is my word for basically wrong answer. Let's try something else. Good. I reward her here. Reward her in place. I don't even want her head coming through the door. Good. Reward her in place, and now I'm gonna give her the enter command. Enter. Good girl. Yeah, good girl. Good job, Piper. And then we'll probably do a session later tonight, and I'll play with her a little bit so you guys will get to see some of that, see how toy-driven she is. I haven't pulled the toys out with her yet, but you got to add play with your dogs. I play with a lot of my dogs a lot because it's just really, really powerful in building a bond. So again, before I put her away for good, I like to do some rapid fire. I get her in, get her out, get her in, get her out, And she will be getting to hang out in my house out of the crate as well as she starts to get some more obedience on her. Because I got to teach her some structure, Don't go in the kitchen, don't get on the table, don't get on the furniture unless I invite you up. Like things that just build leadership that dogs really crave and they really need it. They really need leadership. But it shouldn't be like a dictatorship. Yes! They should enjoy the whole process, man. Your dog should enjoy the training. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah. It's a good girl. You're so good. You're so good. And she'll start to come out of her shell within like a week, you know. She's still a little bit nervous of a dog. Yes. Ideally, I didn't really even want to correct her for fixating, but sometimes it just happens. I usually don't try to correct dogs at all for the first week, but sometimes things happen. You have to, you know. It's just how it is. Yes. Good girl. That's a good girl, Piper. Good girl. Oh, good girl. You're doing so good. Good. Cool, and that's a little session, guys. We're almost done with day 2. We'll probably do another session tonight and show you guys, you know, how we start progressing off of what we've done so far. But yeah, she's coming along really nice, guys. So stay tuned for the next video, man. 46-day series from 0 to hero. Thanks, guys.